Hey folks, Tim Newman with Lite Studios, and it's time for another daily assignment. Today's assignment, July 7th, 2019. Our assignment today is titled Hitting the Streets. And I feel there is no better way to improve your shooting efficiency or up your shooting skills than the fast-paced style of street shooting known as street photography. Shake off those jitters, grab those candids, ask for permission if you feel you need to, and learn how to get out there and run and gun. The sample images that you are about to see were all shot last evening in one 3-hour street session. Let's take a look at what we got. In this first scene, I captured a group of people doing what most groups of people seem to do today. That is, texting one another from 2 feet away. I don't know why I found some irony in this shot, but I did, and I felt compelled to grab it, so here you go. In our next image, we have a street musician working hard to earn a couple of dollars as folks are walking up and down the street. Now, you may think he didn't want his picture taken by the very ironic position of his left hand and that one finger, but that, in fact, from a guitar player, is an appropriate chord position. At least I think so. Let's take a look at our next picture. This gentleman here, I asked him if I could take his picture. He was walking down the street. I really dug his outfit, and I really loved the hat. And I said to him, "Man, that's a cool hat. I would love to get a picture of you." And he was like, "All right." And he posed for me. And I think it really turned out good. He kind of hammed it up in a subtle way, but I think it really led to a nice image. And in this case, asking permission rewarded me with a shot that I like. All right, let's take a look at some of the elements of composition that we are concerned with. I think one of the most important things that we can do in street photography is pay attention to balance. We don't always have time to place the subject where we want them to be. We're kind of shooting on the fly, but thinking in advance about balance can be easily done. Balance in terms of tonal balance in the image, colors working off one another, subject balance in the image, where is the subject relative to the background, and last but not least, just geometric balance. Do we have a good balance between subject and non-subject items in the frame? Remember, use that depth of field to isolate that subject in the frame. Another one that's really interesting for street photography is a thing that we call juxtaposition. And juxtaposition is what we would think of as kind of a subject and a subsubject in ironic opposition to one another. Picture, if you will, a wall with a giant mouth on it with its mouth open, and a person sitting on a bench with their head right in that open mouth. That's juxtaposition. Hard to find, but makes for a great image that viewers love to inspect further. And last but not least, think about symmetry. Think about the subject versus the items around it. It kind of lends itself to balance a little bit, but think about symmetry from left to right, top to bottom, things that can echo themselves within the image. All right, let's take a look at 3 more sample images before we move on here. In our next sample image, we have a homeless gentleman, and I asked this gentleman if I could take his picture. I got down at eye level with him and had a quick conversation. "How you doing? I really would love to take your picture." He wanted to know what I was going to use it for, and I said, "I just felt compelled to take your picture. I love the lines in your picture, and I really wanted to get that frame." And I think as long as he felt respected, if there was a little dignity about it, he was okay with it. And I sat there and talked with him for a few more minutes, gave him a couple dollars, thanked him for his time, and told him best of luck. Now, I really wish I could have done more, but sometimes you can't. But at least he knew that I cared enough to stop and talk to him for a few seconds and reward him a little bit for the time he invested in letting me take his picture. I really love the lines in his face and the expression on his face. It doesn't make me happy to see that, but it certainly makes me feel like I captured the essence of this person and the struggle they're going through at this moment in time. In our next image, decidedly more happy. We walked into a place that we normally stop to grab a drink and a little bite to eat in our street shoots. We kind of work halfway through our shoot, take a little break, and then work back the other direction to where we parked. And as soon as we walked in with our cameras, this group of ladies at this table said, take our picture, take our picture. And I'm like, all right, I'll take your picture, but we're going to go outside where the light is better. They immediately all hopped up and followed me out, and I grabbed a bunch of still shots of them. We even got a few ham bones in the background. You might call that a little bit of juxtaposition. But every one of these ladies was extremely happy to have their picture taken. They asked me, I didn't ask them. And before I left, I got all of their email addresses, and I promised every one of them I would send them copies of their images. And oh, by the way, it's only 9:30 the next morning, and I've already kept that promise. Who knows? Future models in the making right there. But look at those happy faces. They certainly didn't mind having their picture taken. Our last shot here is just something to remind you, don't forget those abstract images. We had just a touch of rain, not much, a quick downpour and it dried off, but enough to leave a little bit of a sheen on the street. I worked those reflections along with those out of focus lights that we refer to as bokeh in the image, and just grabbed this as we're walking along. As a shot goes, it's free and easy, and I still think it's pretty compelling. Might make a nice background image for something else. All right, let's wrap up with some rules and then we're out of here. Rules of composition. Rule of thirds is pretty important if you can work it in. Try to see if you can reinforce that notion in your image. It's not always easy when you're on the street and you're shooting fast, but keep it in the back of your mind. Try to pre-plan your shots a little bit. See subjects walking down the street and real quickly look at what's behind them and where can you be to capture them ideally. Point of view always matters. Every single person shot that I have in here, I'm looking the subject directly into the eyes. That homeless gentleman who's sitting down on the ground, I'm not shooting down at him. I'm not disrespecting him. I'm not diminishing him in the frame. I'm down at his level, having a human one-on-one interaction with him. Make sure you do that. Geometric balance is always important. Figure out balancing mechanisms to make the subject obvious and the background fade away. All right, one last slide of rules. Here is our parameters for exporting images if you are going to upload them in consideration for our semi-monthly online critique, and we really encourage you to do that. There's a lot of value to that. An example of our naming standard, an example name for today's image that you can use to guide you in naming your files before you upload them. Last but not least, the upload URL for today's images. Now, we never make you type all that stuff in. It's down below as a clickable link in the description, which is pretty flippin' handy because it's right next to that subscribe button that if you haven't clicked on already, you should go do that right now. And as we always say, remember, learning equals skills, practice equals mastery. We'll see you out there on the street.